Hi there again. Welcome back to the Ansipy Library. Today, I want to go through all the books that I've read since I last spoke to you about the books that I've read in my vlogs that I did a while ago, and I haven't done for a while. So let's jump kind of straight into that. Going back to May, it's now September. I know. I just have had no energy. I've been ill on and off with migraines. I've had COVID just now. I've just not been having a good time. In May, these are the books I read. So I'm going to hit screen record and put over here what I've, just so you can see much better than me like doing this. So up on the screen now, these are the books I read in May. My favourite book of May was The Dragon Mage, which was an amazing, fantastic book. By the way, it was amazing, and I really did enjoy reading The Dragon Mage. It's been a while, so again, I can't talk about these books too much because it's been a while since I've read them, but it was fantastic book. It was about the main character who likely has autism and is, I can see the traits in him so clearly. And it's not even like a big deal or anything like that. It's not like the main focus of the book. It's just about a character who is neurodivergent in some way and just getting on with life and kind of reacting to things the way somebody who's neurodivergent would. Myself being very probably neurodivergent, like I am in some way, I just don't know how. I can relate to this main character so much more because I would react in very similar ways to this guy. And it was just so nice to see this new perspective and being able to relate to it in that way. So, yeah, and it had dragons and it was awesome. I can't really say too much because there's a big plot twist towards like start to middle area of the book, and the only thing I can say is dragons because the cover and title both tell you that there is. So it's fantastic though, and I highly recommend this book. The Stardust Thief was a very close second. It was absolutely fantastic, and I really, really enjoyed the journey that they went on, how the characters came across, how the Jinn were involved in this book, and how awesome that was, what the quest was for. I thoroughly enjoyed it and went out and bought the physical book because I had an arc of this, and I just needed to have the actual book in my possession, like the physical book. So I have that on my shelves now, and I love it. It's just great. So yeah, I've really enjoyed that. Yeah, I enjoyed most of the books on this list. Neverwhere was meh, kind of middle ground. It was okay. I just don't think it was targeted for me. I normally love Neil Gaiman's books, and this is a well-loved book by Neil Gaiman, but this one just wasn't really greatly for me. So I'll kind of just leave that there and just not read it again because it just wasn't my cup of tea. A Gallant I read very, very quickly. It's a very quick read, and I thoroughly enjoyed that too. It was amazing, like nothing I've ever read before. And this is my first Victoria Schwab book, so I look forward to picking more of her books up in future. It was very atmospheric, very beautifully written. I don't normally like overly flowery writing, but I think Victoria Schwab seems to do it in a very good way, and I did really enjoy it. And I did finally finish the Books of Babel with the Fall of Babel. This one wasn't my favourite. It was a bit of a ending that I didn't love, but it was fine. And like the first section of the book wasn't my favourite either. So this was probably the lowest rated the lowest rated one of the 4 books, but I still enjoyed it. You know, it was still good. It was still good. So moving into June, I did the Whatever-a-thon and kind of built this little board to see the kinds of things I wanted to read. Not all of them were read by the looks of things. And I had 3 DNFs that month. Jeez. So I'll go over the DNFs first. I did read tried to read Fevered Star by Rebecca Roanhorse and just wasn't feeling it. I loved the first book, Black Sun. I just wasn't getting into this one for some reason. I don't know if I wasn't in the right mindset or something, but I just couldn't get into it this time, so I kind of had to put it down. The Master of One, I didn't find good at all. It was just too boring to follow, just constant these 2 characters bickering, and I just didn't enjoy what was happening. And then Homeland by R.A. Salvatore. I'm sure I will love this at some point. I think the just the audiobook on its own wasn't great for me. So I think I'm going to have to somehow either get the ebook or the physical book and read it with my eyes instead of with my ears. So I don't think that's a reflection on how the book is, because I know it's a well-loved, like R.A. Salvatore is a well-loved author, and these are very D&D, and it seemed like something I will love, but I just wasn't keeping up with it. I couldn't figure out what was going on just from the audio, so one day I'll have to get the physical or the ebook. So moving on to the books I did read. So I read Legends and Lattes, which was stunning and 5 stars, and I adored this cozy fantasy little cafe orc lady. Oh my god, it was the cutest little sapphic cozy fantasy ever. So this orc is just fed up of killing and going on quests, so she's retiring and she just wants to open up a coffee shop and sell this coffee that she tasted. Nobody knows what coffee is. But she's gonna do it anyway. And she wants to sell coffee, and she gets like somebody else working for her. This lady you can see on the cover here. I don't remember the names of these characters. I'm so sorry. Names never stick in my brain. But she gets somebody to work for as well, and she, progresses in the business. She doesn't just sell coffee anymore. She gets somebody to help her manage the business and sell stuff and update the shop and start cooking and getting some baking in there. Oh, it's just lovely, and I really, really love it. Like, there's some things that make life difficult for them, but it's still very cozy and very nice, and I highly recommend Legends and Lattes if you haven't read it already. It's just so cute and wholesome. Anyway, then I read Saga Volume 4. I gave this 4 stars. I'm adoring this series, and I can't wait to see what happens next every single time I read one of these comics. So, yeah, super happy with the way that went. Again, it's like the 4th one in the series, so I can't say much about it other than I enjoyed it. So then I moved on to another very fluffy, cute thing. I reread Heartstopper Volume 2, and of course it's staying 5. All of these are staying 5 stars because they're just adorable and I love them. I just love Nick and Charlie, and I love their friends. I love all of the representation in these books, just all of it. So I will read Heartstopper so many times. And then I moved on to I Hate Fairyland Volume 4. Yes, sadly never after. I finished the I Hate Fairyland series, gave it 4 stars. Again, I really enjoy these. They're just funny. They're just really, really funny. Got some very dark humour in there. There's a little girl who goes to Fairyland, and which all seems great, but then she's like a spoiled little brat, and she goes against all the conventions of Fairyland. It's all supposed to be nice and cute, and she's not supposed to be there for long. She's supposed to go on that nice little quest, find the key, and then go home, but she doesn't go home. That's the problem. She doesn't go home, so she stays like this cute little sweet child, but she's actually an adult. That's all I'm going to tell you. And yeah, she does some things that you wouldn't see in Fairyland normally. Definitely adults. Do not show this to children. So yeah, really enjoyed finishing up that series. And then I read The Well of Ascension by Brandon Sanderson, the second book in the Mistborn series. Gave this a 4.5 stars. It was very, very good. Some people don't really like this one that much. It is a very middling book, to be fair. But yeah, I still thoroughly enjoyed Brando Sando's work, and yeah, still gave it 4.5 stars. So then I read a Dead Djinn in Cairo, by the same author who wrote The Master of Djinn. Gave this 4 stars. It was a good little story. Read it in one sitting. Fantastic. I can't remember too much about it, but I remember really enjoying it. So it was like an investigation thing about a dead djinn. Then I read Winter's Orbit, and I was really, really looking forward to this book. Didn't love it as much as I thought I would. It was still very cute and nice and good, and I did enjoy it. But like, politics are very funny with me. I'll either love a political book or hate it. I didn't really enjoy this too much. I gave it 3.5. It was okay. I enjoyed it okay, but not something too memorable for me. Then I read Rat Queen's volume. There's a lot of volume 4s going on, isn't there? Oh no, this is volume 3. I know I have read volume. I'm pretty sure I've read volume 4. But yes, another 5-star read. I love Rat Queen so much. It's great. It's very funny, very D&D kind of situations, and just great and LGBT friendly as well. So love it. So that's everything I read in June. Moving on to best book of the month was Legends of Atlantis, of course, because it was fantastic. Moving into my July August TBR, I only read a few of them in July and August. So I first off read Ordinary Monsters and gave that 3.5 stars. I enjoyed this well enough again. It was good, but not my favourite. Moving on to Kings of the Wild, which is a book I love so much. 5 stars again. This was a reread. I was very excited to reread this and loved it just as much a second time. And yeah, it tells my heart. Nicholas Eames' book so far. Perfect, and I can't wait for the third one to come out. So yeah, this is basically another kind of D&D kind of situation, kind of world. And our main characters, like our band, are all middle-aged kind of men with lots of pains. And they're having to go like on a quest that they would have gone on when they were young. Like they went on lots of quests when they were young. So this band has got to go out and save one of the group's daughter, who's like trapped by a big army of monsters. So that's basically the storyline for that. But yeah, it's just fun and I love it, and I love the characters. And Moog is my favourite. Just so you know, he's like a wizard who, he's just great. He's like a crazy wizard. That's all I'm gonna say, because I want you to experience Moog for yourself. And I reread Gideon the Ninth because there's a reason this time. There is a reason this time. Obviously, it's a 5-star by Tamsin Muir. Because No Note was coming out in September, so I read this, and then the following month I'd read Harrow, and then in September I'd read Nona, and it'd be great. But we already know what I'm going to say about Gideon, so I'm not going to say too much, but I'm in love. I love this book so much. It's my favourite book of all time. And then I read The Year of Ages by Brandon Sanderson, finishing out the era 1 of the Mistborn series. So another 5-star. It was great. I really enjoyed it. I really liked how it turned out and how the book finished and what happened. I love this world. It's great. So yeah, metal magic. It's great. Moving on. Oh, that was everything I read in July. So I read 4 books in July. It was a very slow month, but yeah, that's just kind of how it goes sometimes. I read some really good books in July. I also purchased quite a few books in July, so the hobby of purchasing books took precedence in July. Let's just say that. Obviously, my favourite book was Gideon, because why wouldn't it be? It just precedes all of the books. And then moving on to August. These are the books that I wanted to read in August. I've ticked off the ones I did read in August there. So I started off August with Meddling Kids because my partner's been trying to get me to read this for ages, so I finally picked it up. 4.5 stars. This is by Edgar Cantero. Basically like a Scooby-Doo retelling for adults. So there's three people who have grown up. Like they used to go on investigations when they were kids with the dog that they had at the time. They've all grown up, moved on with their lives, but like the mystery that stopped them from doing mysteries, because it was kind of not really finished, is like going through their minds all the time. And so they come together again with a new dog, but like an ancestor of the dog that they had, and go back to solve the mystery again and figure out what's going on. And it's a really, really good read. Some of the stuff, like the wording they used, not certain about. I mean, it's reflecting on the times that it was written, so it's fine. But it made me uncomfortable, which is probably what it's supposed to do. So I really enjoyed that. The book. I then went on to read Lore Olympus Volume 1. This is a reread for me because I've read it all on Webtoon. So I gave that 4.5 stars. I absolutely adore these comics. They are great. By Rachel Smith. They are just an amazing Hades and Persephone retelling story, and I love it so much. And I love these characters, and I need to wrap Hades and Persephone up in bubble wrap and protect them. Moving on. I then read The Sad Ghost Club. I gave that 4 stars. This is by Liz Meddings. I do want to read the second one of this at some point, but this was a whole book, just a whole comic about mental health, and it was perfect. Like, I related to this character so much because I do not know how to find friends. I can't act normal at parties. And I'm kind of jealous of this character because they made a friend and I don't know how to make friends. But yeah, I definitely relate. My mental health is just not for social situations, so I completely related. So then moving on to my next comic that I read was Low, Volume 1. I won't be carrying on with this comic series because it's just not my kind of thing. It's about like a dying world kind of situation, and they're trying to find somewhere that they can go and live. Currently they're under the ocean, like they're in the ocean living there. And it's very like messy and people are just kind of hoping for the best, but the leaders are just not caring. Anyway, gave this 3.5. It's not for me. It's not bad, it's just not for me. And then I read Heartstopper Volume 3. 5 stars again. Love it. You know why I love it. It's great. Mental health, LGBT, all that great stuff that needs representing. Perfect for me. I love it. And then I read Sabriel by Garth Nix. Gave this a 4 star. I might carry on with this actually. I'm not certain right now. I really enjoyed the first one. It's got necromancy in it, which is an obvious sign for me to read it. But like, not the kind of necromancy you would normally think of. There's like bells involved and like a gate where you actually have to go into like the place of the dead and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, the main character is looking for her father, who's also a necromancer, and she's trying to figure out where he's gone because he's just disappeared. So it's following her, trying to figure out what's going on with that. And also coming out of school and figuring out her powers in the real world kind of thing. Then I read Heartstopper Volume 4 because of course I did. I just can't stop. Gave it a 5 stars because of course I did. This one made me cry my eyes out again. It does every single time. Mental health stuff. That's the only reason I'm going to say. It's just the mental health stuff. It just crawls into my heart and makes me cry. Then I reread Matilda, gave it a 5 stars. I will say though, it's not as good as the movie, and that is not something I will normally say ever. But the movie, like, it is better than the book because it adds all the really cool cinematic things. It pretty much keeps everything from the book, but adds loads of things that makes it better. So, yeah, I enjoy reading it, but I enjoy watching it more, unfortunately. Fortunately, it's a great movie. I love it. But yeah, lovely book to read to kids. And then I read volumes 2 and 3 of Lore Olympus because Webtoon. Both are 5 star, because of course they are. And I just love the progression of Hades and Persephone's stories. And again, things make me cry because I want to murder Apollo. And that, I'm not going to say why I want to murder Apollo, but I just do. Please don't kill me, pagan gods. Anyway, and then I read Volume 4 because Webtoon, 5 stars again. Then I read Misrule by Heather Walter. This was only 3.5 stars. Did not enjoy the second book as much as the first. However, it was still good. It was still a good second book, and I'd still recommend it. Stuff kind of just takes too long to happen for me, I think. This could have been a bit shorter. I think too much detail was added for some reason. I don't know what it is. It just, I feel like it went on for too long and not much happened in that too long period. So that's kind of the reason. Just, it was a bit too slow paced for me. I read a lot more this month, apparently. I then read Alloy of Law, which I gave 4 stars. I found that I do prefer Era 1 so far. So it was a 4-star read. It was good. I really like Wax and Wayne as characters, and I like what happened. I love the investigation aspect of it all. But I don't know, the setting just isn't as good for me personally because there's a whole guns thing. It's more modern, kind of fantasy. Yeah, just not as much my kind of thing. Then I read Full Metal Alchemist Volume 4, 4 stars for me. This was for the Faze and Gaze book club thing, I think. I read that for. Yeah, I'm enjoying Full Metal Alchemist still. I really like the stories that happen. Then I read This Is How You Lose a Time War. This was a 4.5 stars. I loved this book a lot more than I thought I would. I genuinely thought this was just going to be a confusing book that I didn't get. But this was a confusing book that I didn't get, but loved. I really liked what was... I didn't understand what was happening most of the time, but I don't care. I really enjoyed the love story and how that went. It was beautiful. And I just wasn't expecting to enjoy this book as much as I did. And I loved it. So we're in a time war, and the two main characters are like opposite ends. Like they're supposed to be against each other. Nearly everything about them is being controlled by the authorities, whoever they are. But somehow they're falling in love through these beautiful crafted letters that nobody can really figure out, and they're in contact all the time, and I love it. It's so beautifully written to a way that it's almost illegible. You can't understand it, but honestly, I promise it's still really good, and I really, really enjoyed it. Moving on, I read Pence, I think this was volume 4, gave it a 4 stars. I'm loving the cozy sword fighting situation and characters getting angsty and like liking each other but not realizing they like each other, and it's so cute. I love it. And it's sword fighting. It's like the sport that I would like, surely. So then I read the arc I've got of The Dragon's Promise by Elizabeth Lim. Again, I don't think this is as strong as the first book, but I still really enjoyed it. Gave it 4 stars. Still want to get a copy when I can. Yeah, we get to go into the Dragon Realm. We get to... I don't think we stayed there for as long as I thought we would, though, which was strange, because I genuinely believed that this was going to be about her in the Dragon Realm. But then she left, and I was like, oh, where are you going now? But I do like where the story went, so still a very good read, and I did really enjoy it. And then I obviously read Harrow. I don't know, like I took the whole month to read it. I wanted to read it slow. So I read Harrow, and I loved it all over again. Just the ending of this book makes me just smile, and it makes my heart happy, and I'm not telling you why. But reading this after the first time, like rereading this, is like on point perfection. Like it's amazing rereading it and just understanding everything that's happening. Because the first time you read Harrow, it's so confusing. But the second time you read Harrow, it's a masterpiece. Like it's a masterpiece regardless of confusingness. But it is perfect upon reread. Just saying. Then I also received a copy, like an ARC copy, the ARC of Space Trash by Jen Woodall. I gave it 4 stars. I really enjoyed like the plot kind of build up. So introducing the characters, introducing what's going on and why they're on a space station in school and all that good stuff. It's good. I enjoyed it. And I would very much like to read the second one and see where this story's going, because it's kind of going in a direction, and I want to see what that direction's kind of comes out to be. Because I think Earth is inhabitable, and they're like living in different, like humans living in different places, but then there's a school and a space station somewhere, and that's where this takes place. So yeah, I enjoyed that too. And that is the end of, what was it, August? And this was my Faze and Gaze kind of spread that I joined in with for a 24-hour readathon. And they were the prompts. So Full Metal Alchemist was a forgotten book, This Is How You Lose a Time War was a quick read, and Fence Volume 4 was a graphic novel. So I fulfilled all those prompts in that 24 hours. And these were all the books I read, so I read a ridiculous amount of books that month, which was great because it made me catch up a bit. And these are the books I bought, like a pitch from the shop or on my tablet, whatever. And then this was obviously, again, I mean, if a Tamsin Muir book is within that month, it's going to be the best book of the month, like hands down. So this is my September and October TBR. So this is my current TBR where I'm working on right now. And as you can see, I've already read 3 books in September, so, and working on my 4th. So Jasmine Throne was I think all of the books I've read so far this month have been 5 stars. I have had a really good month so far. So Jasmine Throne, 5 stars. Absolutely loved this. Again, a political fantasy that I loved this time. I think this is Absolutely the Time War was quite political as well, and I loved that. So that's the thing. I'm either going to really like it or not really care about it too much, and there doesn't seem to be much in between. So the Jasmine Throne was perfect. It's a sapphic book, not focused too much on the romance at all, really. So just think about that going in, and there's characters falling in love with each other, but that's really not the focus. Like there's the whole plot that is the focus, as like the priority. So just going into that, like going into this book, know that, please. I loved it though. It was perfect. I loved getting to know these characters and who they are, what their history was, getting to know this world and like what the rot is, for example. Like a disease that's kind of going around and why that's there, kind of a situation. We're following the Emperor's sister, who was supposed to sacrifice herself and didn't, and now she's being punished for it. And her maid, basically, who gets to like look after her, and she's supposed to kind of like she's not really supposed to be there, but she's been allowed to be there, if you get what I mean. And there's a whole love story there, but again, not the big focus. Loved it. Read The Song of Achilles, another 5 stars. Madeline Miller, it was perfect. I loved that. This is like the perfect retelling of Achilles and Patroclus. Beautiful. Made me cry. Because why wouldn't it? I mean, this book, I'm pretty sure made nearly everybody who's read it cry. I know what's coming. That's the thing. I know what's going to happen because I took classics. I know what's going to happen because I read this years ago. Even though this was like the first time reading it, because it's been so long since I read it and I didn't remember much. I knew what was happening. I knew what was coming, and it still got me. I was hoping it wasn't coming, and it did. But the ending is stunning, and I this whole book is stunning. I love it. So this follows Patroclus, and it follows his love story with Achilles. Basically, that's what this says. This is a love story. Obviously, they have to go to war because it's like kind of a retelling of the Iliad in a way. So they have to go to Troy and be in a war. Achilles becoming a hero for everybody that he's supposed to be, he's prophesized to be. There's a whole fight because Patroclus isn't supposed to be falling in love with Achilles. His mum doesn't want that for him. All that kind of stuff. Trying to push him in a direction that he doesn't want to go to. It's a heartbreaking story, and it's a beautiful story, and I loved it. And then yesterday I finished Nona the Ninth, and it was everything. It was everything. And I'm already excited for Elected to come out, even though we're gonna be made to wait. Obviously 5 stars and all the hearts and all the love, and I love Nona, and Nona loves me apparently. Nona has all the love. I'm not going to say much about this book because I can't really tell you anything without spoiling things, but it is gorgeous. I love our characters that we follow. Nona is literally the only name I can say without spoiling things. But she is an amazing character. Oh, Noodle. I can say Noodle. Noodle is the dog. And Noodle is perfect. Noodle is everything. I want a 6-legged dog called Noodle now. If you love the Locked Tomb, you're gonna love this. Like, as my friend Nick from Wicked Good Books says, this is actually for us as fans of the Locked Tomb. Like, us fans of the Locked Tomb series, this is written for us. It is amazing, and I loved it every single second reading this book. and I'm gonna get the ebook or something, and I'm gonna reread it slowly this time because I just want to take in everything about it. Anyway, you've probably heard me prattle on too much about Locked in previous videos, so I'm gonna shut up. Just saying, it was great and I loved it and I gave it 5 stars. It was wonderful. So that is you all caught up on everything I've read since May. Oops. And hopefully I can make more videos. I keep saying this, and if I can, I will. Like I say, I've recorded 2 videos today, including this one, of course. But I'll be here when I can be. It's just me recording everything that I'm reading, everything that I'm making, as I did in my previous video. I just want to let you guys know what's going on. So, catching you up. Thanks guys so much for watching this video, this very long-winded video about everything I've been reading. And I will see you next time. Thank you so much for watching. TCFM. Bye bye.